Taking on a life of their own and doing what I don't want them to. My characters are much better behaved than that. I'm a director. They do it pretty much what I tell them to do. Like any good director, if one of them seems to have an idea, I will think about it, but it will only come in the context of what else I want to do. And it will only be if what seems to occur, oh, this character would do this, is better than I had planned. Such as, a good example from the movie is Swordsman comes out with quick, Indiana Jones shoot him, which is not how it was originally scripted. But it was a much better idea than that. So yeah, I do not believe in characters taking over the book. They do what I tell them to.
What do you think about them deleting the character developing scenes from the old movies?
Say that again.
What do you think about them deleting the scenes from the old movies that showed character development, like with Luke?
Which scenes were deleted? You mean before the movie?
The ones where Luke is growing up with his friends and hanging out with them, and the scene where Han's with the woman in the cantina and.
Yeah, the deleted scenes, Luke with Biggs before the droid land, I think, and Han at the land at the docking bay with Jabba. I think they were dropped because of the whole pacing. I agree with dropping the Luke scene that just slowed things down where it didn't need to go. I think I would have left out the Jabba scene too. Again, that slows things down isn't really necessary. I've seen various movies where they included the director's cut, the stuff they originally had in there. For the most part, you probably shouldn't have had that in there in the first place. You made the right decision the first time. Now, the one scene I really liked deleted in, I think it was Attack of the Clones, that they deleted that was on the DVD, was Amidala. It was a conversation, I remember exactly what it was with on her home planet at the big lake and all of that. But it built some character. It let you realize she's this neurotic vanity, which is actually important for why they're attracted to each other. She actually does have the same flawed personality, and that would have been nice to put back in. That was, what, a minute of film? You couldn't have, dropped out some picnic and put that in instead. But, everybody's a psychology is important when it comes to these things. Okay, so anyway. Do I regret not making the Thrawn trilogy bigger, knowing the fans were out there? I was contracted for 3 books. That's what the contract was for. That's what we were doing, and that's what was paid for. So if I could have gone. You're saying I could have gone to them and said, "How long can you do a 4th book?" But by then, they already had other people at the end. So they had Kevin J. Anderson, Kathy Tyers, Dave Riverton, Maddie Strickland books so that they could start filling this gap that obviously existed in the Star Wars fan repertoire. So, no, there's no regret. I paced it as a trilogy. At that point, bear in mind also, not only was I being asked to do Star Wars, I was being asked to write a 3-book saga, basically 300,000-word story. And I'd never done that before. The longest I've done is a single standalone book of about 100,000 words. So this was plenty intimidating without making it into a Wheel of Time thing of 10 or 12 volumes. So I like much better doing the 3 or 2 or 1 at a time. So it also keeps me from burning out on Star Wars and the characters or something. I can't imagine doing a 10-book series all over the world.
This is a really famous bookseller question, but you mentioned Wheel of Time. What authors in your contemporary or historically do you really read for your?
The question was, who do I read from 9 I found I can't read much fiction anymore. It feels too much like research. I can't relax to it. I'm analyzing the plot, analyzing the characters, the dialogue, figure out where it's going to go, being annoyed when it doesn't go that direction, or annoyed that I didn't think of even cooler way it went that I wasn't thinking of. So mostly now I read nonfiction. But in the day and before, up till 10 years ago, I was reading a lot. Contemporary, David Weber, I like the Honor Harrington series. Early on, I read a lot of authors, but I liked, in particular, Larry Niven, Theodore Sturgeon, Keith Laumer, and Alistair MacLean, his 1960s and 70s books in particular, before he started kind of phoning it in. So any of those, I liked the old Ellery Queen mysteries, those were fun. Especially having seen the Ellery Queen TV series, which I very much enjoyed. So mostly I read history these days, nonfiction. It also helps in my own development of cultures and what causes wars, what stops wars, and so forth. Obviously that's kind of research too, but there's no plot I have to follow. The question was the multi-author story arcs that I be involved in that. I've actually turned down three of that sort of thing, the most recent being a couple of usual and volume stories. I was asked to join into that thing. I was also asked years ago to do other books that somebody else has outlined. I decided that, I've got X number of novels that I can write in my lifetime. I really don't want to spend longer than writing somebody else's story. Writing somebody else's universe is different, but sitting down and here's your outline, or here's a movie, we want you to write this. It doesn't seem worthwhile. So, with the Vaughn thing, the New Jedi Order book, the outline also has been created without any input from me. So it's essentially the same as Isaac Asimov having an outline saying, feel like to write these books. Which is one of the ones I turned down years and years and years ago. So, I'm not a fan. Part of the problem with the multi-story arcs for me is that, as I mentioned earlier, when I'm doing a book, a lot of things occur to me that didn't occur in the outline only. And if I'm doing my own stuff, in fact, in Dark Horse Rising, when I started writing that, I realized Han didn't have much to do in this book in my outline. And I wound up inventing Senator Val Iblis to give Han more of a role. He was a good character, but it hadn't occurred to me at the time. Well, if I had some idea like that doing book 1 of a 9-book series, and books 2 and 3 are already being written, I can't change that. I can't deviate. I can't put in a new idea. So it'd be feeling kind of claustrophobic as well. So I think I'll stick with the individual ones, my own little carved out section of the Star Wars history. Got time for a couple more before anybody has other questions.
How do you edit? What do you edit?
How do I edit the book? What I typically do is try to get 1,000 to 1,500 words done every day. That's a little slower at the beginning and picks up speed at the end of the book when all the plot threads are out and starting to come together. So I will do 1,500, sometimes late in the book 2,000 or 3,000 a day. The next morning I'll start back at that point where I started to previously read it through, do a polishing edits, do it for polish the dialogue, polish the flow, changing obviously wrong words and everything, get a running start on the day's news. Then at the end of the book I will go back to the beginning, read it all through again, polishing again, and adding in any foreshadowing I've forgotten to put in, and taking out the little hints of things that I want to do. So cleaning up all of that. So I write fairly clean to begin with, so it doesn't take much more. I don't do complete drafts. I do just kind of edit as I go. Then the editor gets this. He or she will tell me what they like or don't, more what they don't like and what they want changed. Usually that's 2 or 3 months later. So I will insert those changes and take the opportunity to do one more read-through because 3 months later I'm looking at it with new eyes. The copy editor then gets the manuscript. The copy editor will find all sorts of other little bits and pieces. Will get the last check of logic. Well, you said there were 3 of them in chapter 5. In chapter 7, you said there were 5 of them, which isn't. And some things that I, or the editor, might have missed, the copy editor will hopefully catch it. The copy editor stuff could be interesting. My favorite copy editor note was in, I think it was for Dark Force Rising. There was this little note attached in here. Why do they not recall Leia Lady Vader? And then almost as an afterthought, is she Darth Vader's daughter? Luke, Leia, Vader. Connect it up. I think I saved that one someplace. They also, on air, some kind soul made Stormtrooper 2 words, because that's how it was in Nazi Germany, but not in Star Wars, so I carefully put them all back again. But the copy editor then gets this. I will get to see a galley, or what we'll call first pass pages, that are last-ditch effort to make any changes or catch any mistakes. Then it comes out, and you will find other mistakes, because it never can catch them all. But that's basic procedure. By the time the book comes out, I'm 2 or 3 books later, and if you ask me some obscure question, I'm able to get blankly from it, so I can remember what I did back then.
Are you planning on doing the same annotation with the other 2 books in the series?
Question was, basically, are we bringing out Dark Force Rising: The Last Command for the anniversary edition? That all depends. You know, Kim was a bookseller question. That depends on how well the air study itself. They want to bring together 2 copies, but it has to be profitable enough to do it. It's a fair amount of work to redo everything. Got the original manuscript, but we've got to redo, put in the annotations, put in the story, et cetera, and then put it in the cover and all that. So it's going to cost a fair amount of money to do it. They need to make a profit, so they have to all their business. But they want to bring them out. So if the readers are all purchase feeling at the time, and they make great Christmas presents. I'm hoping by the middle of October we'll know what we're going to do the other 2. And if we do, it's going to be another 18,000 to 20,000 word story and more annotation. We'll do the same thing we've done today. So, and I've already got the stories in mind to do, so I'm just waiting for clearance to go in the right way. And there's some time.
So some 2 decades and so many books later, is there anything that your editors cut or actually changed that you wish you could go back and not?
There were things that were cut and changed that I really didn't like at the time. The most prominent being that they wouldn't let me use an insane song of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Thrawn trilogy for Luke to meet. I thought that was a cool idea. They said no. I argued, and 6 ways from April to try to get us. What do you do this? What do you do that? They don't impinge on what Lucas was doing. People, they would not budge on that one. So I grouchily put in for a Saturday instead. Now looking back, I'm glad they didn't let me do it, because Outbound Flight would have been a lot harder to write if I hadn't had that character, the original, to play with. So Lucasfilm was really touching, really nervous about me stepping on prequel tours and looking at the prequel to going to be. But having survived the prequel pretty well because of that, I can only thank them for giving me the time. How much interaction with George Lucas? I met him once. Got to chat with him for a few minutes. We talked mostly about how filmmaking was going on Hill at the time. He does not really do much with the novel, certainly not the day-to-day work. He's got his own stuff that he focuses more on his own work. Occasionally he will make they'll ask him for a decision on some major point. When they were gearing up for Vector Prime and the New Jedi Order, they sent him a list of who could be killed off. They decided they wanted to kill off some movie character. And basically, only Luke and Leia were exempt from being killed off. Han was apparently open season. The Del Rey editors decided they did not want to do him, and so they killed him off instead. I think it's probably a wise choice, all things considered. But Han was definitely up there in the running. So things like that, George will make decisions on. But most of